Alright, so this would be game analysis number 3 now, and I was white. This game was played on chess.com, and it's one of my nicer games, I think, that I've played. It certainly is better than my other game of mine that I analyzed. And I think it's a little bit instructive, maybe. I don't know, maybe it's not. But anyway, I just was played yesterday, and it's on chess.com. I was rated 1549. Well, after my win, I was lower than that, but after the game, I was rated 1549, and my opponent, sorry, I do not know how to pronounce that, was rated 1563. So definitely an interesting game, and I think an instructional one. So I started with e4, pretty basic, Sicilian. At this point, I was like, no, not the Sicilian. But anyways, it did turn into kind of a chaotic game later on. But anyways, for now, it's pretty simple, just basic. And I did this move. I know it blocks my knight, so maybe it wasn't best, but I didn't know of a really better way to defend the pawn, because I was aiming for two good pawns. Pawn duo, I guess it's called. But I guess, it's not really, I don't know, it does kind of get in the way of my knight. But anyways, that's what I played. Knight f6. I decide to push the knight away. Knight runs to d5. And then I get what I want, where I have two nice pawns. So my opponent pushed d6, probably just trying to break up my position here, and I guess around this point I thought I have a better position than my opponent does, so anyways, I just continued to make moves, and pretty basic stuff, nothing too fancy yet. And then preparing for castle. So, and then I did knight d2, intending on maybe getting a home on e4. I guess, I don't know, maybe this would be okay as well, but I don't know, it just, after, in the end, now I get an isolated c-pawn and a-pawn, and I just thought, yeah, maybe like I'd have a nice space advantage, but these pawns, they're going to be kind of tough to defend, so the computer says it's slightly better for black. Anyways, let's continue. So my opponent castled, I got to e4 like I wanted to, and then the trade happened, and I was careful. I didn't want any isolated pawns. Maybe that wasn't a great strategy, but that was just my idea. So queen c7. Striking at the pawn, and I only have one defender, so that pawn needs defense. But then again, it also seemingly allows me to gain a pawn, but not quite. So I took the knight, and then rook d8, pinning the bishop to the queen. So anyways, let's continue. So I just defended with a bishop, just defended that pawn. It's pretty much, pretty basic stuff so far. And I just retreated my knight to g3, bishop g4, perhaps intending bishop takes knight, on queen takes getting the pawn. So I indirectly defended by pinning the knight to the queen. So bishop took knight, and I think maybe it wasn't the very best possible move because this first thing, this knight, these two pieces are, well, I wouldn't say the queen as much, but this knight is a bit restricted, and just, you know, allowing my queen now has a nice spot, and my rooks are now connected, so that kind of, I would say, helps me more than my opponent. Alright, so my opponent did g5, which at first glance might look like I'm losing the pawn, but for one thing, now you've got 4 holes and really weakened king, and it's exactly what happens in the game as the king gets weak and it turns into defense mode. But anyways, so I knew I couldn't really move my bishop much, so I moved my queen and I pinned the pawn to the king. So let's see, I think here is where I start to have kind of a comfortable advantage because like my king has 3 pawns, and this king, you know, kind of has a really important pawn just kind of doing nothing, except for in the line of attack. You know, there's a lot of different dangerous moves. You know, so anyways, another thing is that I'm threatening to take the pawn. Anyways, so then h6 is played, defending, just turn off the analysis, defending the pawn, and so then I do h4, and what h4 does is it strikes at the pawn, you know, just another attacker. But then again, I think knight f4 would be a little more aggressive. You know, I'm attacking a few things, so let's say knight f5. You know, bishop defends, and you know, maybe now h4 might be better. But anyways, so queen d7 was played, and for a while I was thinking of ideas like sacrificing the bishop, and I just thought, oh man, I'm gonna have to trade queens, and now my opponent might be able to get into the game, but instead I found this nice knight f5 move, which all the threats are renewed. I'm attacking the pawn, and it's pretty difficult. Another thing is that, let's say, if rook doesn't defend queen, there's ideas of knight check and then winning the queen. Anyways, my opponent played bishop to f8, which is sort of a backwards move. The king now is kind of boxed in, it's a tiny box. Okay, maybe it's more like this. This is kind of like where the king is stuck right now, and a better move, you know, instead of bishop f8, would be probably king h7. So instead of removing the defense of this pawn, you're threatening, for one thing, to take the bishop, and this bishop still does the job of defending the pawn, so it becomes a bit of a different situation. But anyways, h-pawn took, and my opponent came up with a pretty basic but clever move, pawn to h5, because if pawn takes, you know, you've got a bit of a disaster situation. For one thing, the rook's under fire, and eventually, perhaps, let's say, you know, just basic move. You have really a lot of problems, and checkmate would be one of them coming up. So my opponent did h5, probably the best move in the position. And I can't just take that or I lose my knight. And you might think, well, you've got the position now, but that's not the case. Now the queen has got a powerful post, is threatening all sorts of stuff, and the tables have turned. And as you can see, yeah, now black is in the winning seat. Is that even a phrase? I don't know. But anyways, you get what I mean now. Now I'm not doing so well. So I simply retreated the queen. You know, pretty basic. So I'll just turn off analysis. So yeah, just pretty basic stuff. Alright, bishop to g7, 2 pieces attacking the pawn, and there's only one defender. It was about at this time I started thinking if there was a way, let's say this pawn moves, rook takes c6 would be possible, for example. Okay, well, eventually, like it was my turn, but I was thinking if this pawn wasn't here, I could just take this knight, and then if queen takes, then there's this nice little fork. Sorry if that's hard to imagine, but that's just what I was thinking about. Anyway, so it got kind of into this position, and I didn't really feel like taking the knight because then a queen trade, and I thought, maybe I'll be up a pawn, but let's see if we can keep this advantage, this higher advantage on instead of letting all the pieces get active. So, anyways, so I indirectly defended the threat with rook f to d1. And, okay, I'll just do some basic analysis. If rook takes, or knight takes, bishop takes, then I have this move, and now my rooks are getting into the game. So, if queen takes, I've got this fork, and if queen runs away, then now I've got a really powerful situation with my pieces, so it's hard to defend that. So anyways, that is not what happened in the game. Instead, my opponent tried to undermine my pawn and tried to break it down, and then I came up with this nice check, which wins the queen, so my opponent resigned. And is there anything else I just want to mention? Just turn on the analysis. Just kind of, I think, an interesting little game for sure. And I think it could be somewhat instructive. And this is something I found interesting. If rook takes knight, queen takes rook, then there's the fork, which obviously is winning. And if pawn takes, then you just get your bishop back, and now you're seriously controlling the position. But this is something I found interesting. If bishop takes, well, now you've just got very serious attacking chances with, I don't know, maybe rook h6 or something. It's pretty neat. For example, bishop takes pawn, then, there's, there's checkmate in 5 starting with a rook sacrifice. So I think it's just kind of a crazy game because of that g5 move, and that was when the king got really weak, and from then I was able to tear down the position. I will say this, though, I didn't play perfectly. You can check out the Stockfish analysis on the link to the game, and anyways, thanks for watching Chess Game Analysis number 3. Bye for now.